No, we don't need just me.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Kara and Perry. Now I'm looking at Robin. So, you know, however you guys want to position it is fine.
All right.
Okay. We're good?
All right, thank you,
All
everyone.
right. Good evening. I'd like to begin the meeting with a roll call. Robin Dragonetti, present. Carol Lizardi,
Present?
Perry Weech,
Present?
JP Waller,
Present.
Lexi Palmieri.
Present.
Present.
And alone.
So for the record, member Lexi Palmieri is participating remotely. We did just do this, but I want to confirm for the minutes. Lexi, can you hear everyone okay?
Yes, I can.
And everyone in the room can hear Lexi?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we have a quorum. The meeting is called to order at 6:08 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence. Please be seated. The listing of matters on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting will be live streamed for cable. A recording of this meeting will also be posted on the West Bridgewater Community Access Media website, wb-cam.org. And before we begin, so I just want to say that I took the open meeting law training. It was something that we were supposed to do at the end of last year. And it was my understanding that we did not need to vote as a public body to allow remote presence. But we did actually hear from Town Hall that we do need to vote. So either way, I think it's safe that we just vote to allow remote presence today. So I would like to make a motion to allow member Lexi Palmieri to participate remotely. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the matter?
Just one question. Do we have to specify it's for Lexi, or should we vote like that we're allowing it in general? Like, are we gonna have to vote every time somebody wants to do it?
We only have to vote to allow remote attendance in general.
Okay.
So, yeah, so just to clarify, this motion would be to allow remote attendance of this committee. All right, any further discussion? Okay, so one of the changes with remote attendance is that all votes must be done by roll call. So I ask Mrs. Weech as the clerk, are you prepared to run the roll call?
Yes. Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech? Yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
And read back. Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Okay, motion passed, 5-0, unanimous. One other order of business before we move on to the agenda is traditionally we've kind of had I run a lax meeting where we just have open discussion, but in order to make sure that we're allowing discussion and equal discussion by all members, I'm just going to ask that discussion goes through the chair moving forward. So if you would like to contribute, raise your hand and I will call on you and we will continue the discussion. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the May 4th and June 8th, 2026 school committee meetings?
Motion to approve the minutes from May 4th and June 8th, 2026 school committee meetings.
Is-
Second.
Second. Roll call?
Dragonetti?
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Discussion.
Oh, sorry.
Does anyone have any questions on the minutes?
No.
No. Okay. Roll call?
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech, yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the warrants. Mrs. Lazardi.
Okay, we have a few. The following warrants were issued and paid for the fiscal year 2026. For bill warrants, on June 4th, warrant number 45, $128,959.28. On June 11th, warrant number 46, $103,270.26. On June 18th, warrant number 47 for $91,034.05. On June 25th, warrant number 48 was $102,300.64. On July 2nd, warrant number 49 was $71,211.66. On July 9th, warrant number 50 was $62,464.96. And on July 15th, warrant number 51 was for $33,383.70. For payroll warrants in fiscal year 2026, on June 5th, $696,204.41. On June 19th, $636,468.74. And on July 3rd, $581,200.42. Then, moving on to fiscal year 2027, for the bill warrants, on July 16th, warrant number 1, $155,130.07. On July 23rd, there was no warrant, but was still numbered warrant number 2. On July 30th, warrant number 3, $217,944.89. And then payroll warrants so far for fiscal year 2027, on July 17th, it was $574,515.20. And on July 31st, it was $561,820.97. As always, all warrants are public record, and once signed, are available in the Selectman's office for review.
Thank you, Kara. Okay, moving on, we have public comment. Members of the audience wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. Audience members shall limit comments to 3 minutes and are reminded that public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals and the school committee. Personnel issues or issues that would violate student or employee confidentiality cannot be addressed during the public comment. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the superintendent's update. Mr. Bodwell.
Thank you very much. So yes, exciting time of year with school opening a week from today for our students in grades 1 to 12. So in terms of our openings, we have our principals are doing a great job with their openings with new students. So I'm going to actually fast forward to that first. We have our staff orientation tomorrow, so we'll be meeting in here. It's always great to welcome our new staff to the district. And then I believe these dates are correct. The Spring Street for pre-K is September 2nd. Spring Street for our kindergarten is September 3rd. The RLM for new students, August 13th. And RLM for our first graders, August 31st. The Howard School, August 27th. And the middle senior high school, August 26th for our grade 7, and then our new students. We have the principals I know all sent out communications about each of the meetings, so people were well informed. And it really is great to get the kids and the families in here to see the school. It reduces, I think, some anxiety as they start the school year to get to see the school, see their classroom, see their friends who they may or may not have seen over the summer. So excited, and thank you everyone for your hard work, and to the teachers who come in and help out. We really appreciate them being there. We have our new hires. Opening is always exciting when new hires come, and welcome to here to West Bridgewater. And it's kind of the exciting first day for them. It's a long day. They spend a lot of time with their mentors and with the other new staff. And then in terms of our opening for staff is Monday, August 31st. This year, we're doing something a little bit different in the morning. I sent a message out to our staff that we're going to go off-site in the morning, and we're going to be doing some of the traditional meetings. I'll be doing opening remarks. The principals will be meeting with their staff for a period of time, and then they're going to be doing some team building activities. We're going down to a location where they've got some ropes courses, they've got some team activities they're going to be doing, there's some boating that they can be doing, some physical stuff they can do. We've also got some meditation and yoga sessions they can participate in, and some painting even if they want to paint down by the beach. Again, a way for them to interact and be with one another. We do it with our middle school kids, and we know our sixth graders go to Nature's Classroom. And as a former seventh grade social studies teacher, I distinctly remember when I went to Camp Clark at the time with our seventh grade, we did it in the spring. I remember how impactful it was to see the students in a different setting and different light, and I think I'd like to see that with our staff in terms of them doing something a little bit different. Then we're going to return. We're going to leave the camp around 11:30. We'll be back for noon. We'll have a grab-and-go lunch. We're going to give out some T-shirts. We have a back-to-school video, and then they're going to have some time to go back to their classrooms and do some stuff. So 31st, fingers crossed the weather stays good, but it should be hopefully a fun and exciting day. Again, a little bit different. And
Does anyone have any comments or questions for Mr. Bodwell before he moves on to school choice? Is that where you're going
yeah.
next? Okay, go ahead.
All right, and just a reminder that for September 8th is our preschool, pre-K, and kindergarten start a week later. We are putting the bus routes out tomorrow, so there's an email all drafted. It should be up on the website, I think, tomorrow. So we'll get that out there. If there's questions or concerns, we ask families to contact the building secretaries first and go from there. And just a reminder on the first week schedule, full days Tuesday, Wednesday, half day Thursday, off on Friday the 4th. Okay. School choice update. So our goal is always to replace students who have left. A lot of those are seniors who graduate, but we also lose students who are school choice students from Southeastern, some of our Bridgewater students who may go to Bristol, Plymouth, and our Norfolk Aggie students, and some obviously may go off to private schools. So there's usually a decent number, and we don't know who's going where until we really do the end of the summer calculations. So we budget for 230 students. We are going to be at or exceed that. We're always looking at that. We have kids who sign up, they're here, and we want to make sure they actually stay, so it's not a hard and firm number right now. Our highest numbers of accepted students are traditionally at grade 9. That's where we replace most students. Elementary students were mostly siblings. There were a few grades that we were able to open small lotteries. We were very selective. I worked with the principals throughout the summer to make sure whether the sections with 4 teachers or 5 teachers that we're maintaining class sizes right around the low 20s to make sure that we weren't going to add students. It was going to negatively impact the education of all students. And letters have gone out to families, and it is very refreshing when letters or phone calls go out and people are very excited getting kids into the district. So we're happy with our choice numbers, and again, we're trying to be very responsible as we add students.
Any questions or comments on school choice before we?
I just have one question
Sure.
on the students leaving. Do we track that in any manner? I'm just interested, because obviously I know 9th grade, and a lot of kids going to Southeastern and Bristol
Correct.
and all that stuff. But
Through our guidance department, I mean, if they're
it's like a handful, I'm assuming,
most
for
of
other
them,
grades.
yeah, most are either
Okay.
most don't leave once they come in, and
Yeah.
because they know they can't get back in unless
Yeah.
they go back in. But we do track, so we do have data on that.
Okay.
I wanted to update the committee on the competency determination plan and the Massachusetts graduation standards. I did this last year, but I thought it was good because they haven't made any major changes, but I think going into the school year, it's good to know where we're at. And just a reminder that the Governor's K-12 Graduation Council convened after the passage of question 2.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bodwell, can I pause you? I just want
Yes.
to ask a technical question. I just looked up at Lexi and I see her little green hand. Has your
Oh.
hand been raised?
Yeah,
For
a
school?
little bit, but that's okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask about the half day on the 3rd.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Will
Lexi.
the teachers have time in their classrooms? Will they have PD?
Good question. So what we've done traditionally is the teachers will meet with the special education teachers, and they'll go over the students on IEPs as well as 504s and our multilingual learners. So they'll have a time with each of those people responsible, so they're learning about those students that they'll have in their classrooms. And this year, we just talked about today at our meeting, that they'll be going over that quarterly for our 504 students and our ML students. So they're getting a quarterly review of students who are on plans, and, learning more about them, because sometimes they may not have at the high school level them until the second half of the year or a different quarter.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. So again, the graduation standards were to replace the grade 10 MCAS exams, which went away, phasing it out with end-of-course assessments, which they have not identified yet, so that's probably the biggest thing that's been left open. They've continued to collaborate with the MASS and other stakeholders. This summer at our conference, the commissioner, and he also spoke at the administrators conference, talked about what these graduation standards would look like. They've updated some guidance with more information to follow. And these are their 7 recommendations, and I bolded the ones that we are pretty much in full compliance with, as one that we're partially, I would say, in compliance. We have a rigorous program of studies that exceeds the Mass Core, which they feel are the minimum standards for students, so we exceed that. The end-of-course assessments, both the commissioner and the secretary of education were very upfront in saying they don't know where that is right now. They're not sure. It's still a work in progress. Our students do complete a senior project, so that is number 3. Our students do at the middle senior high school use the MyCap through the guidance department. Students are given information on the FAFSA through the guidance department. Students will develop a knowledge and skills in financial literacy. So we do have a financial literacy course that most of our seniors do take. We're not exactly sure what their requirement's going to be, but it's certainly an area we're going to continue to explore to see if we need to expand that. But it is a good course for our seniors, but it's also something we'd like to do with the younger grades too. I think it's very important. And students will have the option to earn a state designated seal of distinction, which we do now in the world languages. So you may continue to hear more. I think there's still more questions than answers, but we'll still work with Mrs. Page and the high school staff to make sure we're fully in compliance.
Any questions or discussion on this item?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And a building project update focusing on the secure entries at the Roselle McDonald and the Spring Street School. So as we know, the feasibility study was approved at the spring town meeting. Over the summer, we worked with HMFH, who created the feasibility study, and multiple meetings with both school and town officials, with our principals and other administrators, as well as the town administrator, the police chief, the fire chief, and the building inspector. So we walked through the sites, we looked at them, we came up with some ideas, we came up with things that we felt were most important, and then they started to work through some initial drawings that we would get. The goal was to create a secure entry or sally port system at both of the schools that would be of minimal cost to the town, but also maximize safety. So we looked at both schools. We came up with one idea for the Roselle McDonald School, which was an interior to the left side as you enter, closest to the secretary's main office, fully inside the building. And we feel that's the best, and really the only, but the best option as well. And at Spring Street, we came up with 2 different options. We initially had 3, one that would go into the building and cut off into the cafeteria where the current stages and a maintenance closet. But another one that we decided that one was probably gonna be too invasive and probably too costly. So we looked at creating kind of a courtyard area that would have a retaining wall, about an 8-foot wall, and create a space that was still in the exterior, but would still provide a secure entry into the building. And we looked at building outside of the building. The concern at first was if we built outside the building, we'd be adding square footage. If we add square footage, would that trigger the need to add sprinklers to the building? In talking to the fire chief, the building inspector, it was determined that as long as it did not exceed 33% of the assessed value, that would be allowed. So that's that we went and got an estimate on that. We got some early estimates We went back and had them refine them. So as we are right now, we're looking to get a final cost estimate and executive summary by the end of the month. We already have a tentative meeting scheduled with school and town officials for early September to go over those estimates and then kind of plan next steps. So there probably are two different options once we look at them, and obviously we'll share this back with the school committee on September 14th. Do we have a special town meeting this fall? We have had, over the past 4 years, a special town meeting somewhere between October and December. Or do we go to the traditional town meeting in the spring of 2027? The difference is when you look at the timeline for construction, if we have a special town meeting in the fall, construction could potentially start in mid-March. If we do the town meeting in the spring, construction would probably start sometime in late October of 2027. Obviously, if either of those times would require some planning to determine alternate entry points. The projects would take a few weeks to complete. We have some ideas on alternate entry points within the schools. Or if we did a special town meeting, it could be done over the summer. So it's not invasive at all. So there's certainly some things to look at. The good news is, right now, the estimates came in at under 1.5 million, combining the two, which would not trigger the need for a owner's project manager.
Any questions or discussion on this? No? Okay, Mr. Butler, go ahead.
Okay. The REIT quarterly update. So that's something that's been shared with you as part of our, being part of the collaborative, so you should receive that.
Any questions on the update?
No.
No. Before you move forward on your goals, I just
Yes.
want to ask your preference. You have 4 goals. Would you prefer we stop and talk about each individual one and allow for questions, or do you want to do an overview and then go back through?
I can do an overview.
Okay,
and
so
if
we'll
there's
do an
specific
overview,
questions, 'cause I don't
hold
think we're voting
questions, and then
tonight.
we'll go back. We're not
Right.
going tonight, no.
Okay,
No,
so
we're not going
then
to
if you
vote
want
tonight.
to follow up after.
Okay, let's do that.
Thank you. So, once again, 4 of my superintendent goals. The first one's a district improvement goal. A lot of this came out of my evaluation, so I respect the discussions that we had. And it's a district data analysis goal. This is a goal that I've worked with our administrative team, so it's a team goal that we'll all be working on together with both district and building administrators to analyze and monitor performance data such as MCAS, STAR data, DIBELS, AP scores, and other types of assessment data, as well as attendance and discipline. So we're reviewing lots of different data from lots of different sources. We have some of our own data that we can pull. We can pull it from things from the state, from the EWIS system, that will pull lots of different data. So it's not only pulling the data, but it's analyzing and monitoring that over time. So that is goal number 1. Goal number 2 is a student learning goal, strengthening instructional leadership. So it's a continuation of a previous goal with focusing, working with building and central office administration and instructional leadership to focus on continual improvement. So it'll be my walkthroughs I do with our building administrators, providing them feedback on their performance and giving them accommodations and recommendations. It'll also be focused on meetings I'll be having with director of maintenance, the director of the food services, and other district administrators. So I think, one of my main goals as superintendent should be instructional leadership and all that goes into it. And that's done through me being actually in the buildings and working with our administrators. The third goal, professional practice goal, stakeholder engagement and voice. So working to gather information from students through K to 12. Those will be my roundtables. And I think this year trying to enhance what I've done in the past in terms of reporting out information and focus those meetings a little bit more in terms of looking at goals for each of those meetings and outcomes of what we can gain from them. I think it's much easier at the high school level because they've come to me with some ideas and things they want to improve, and every time I meet with them, I share information back, but I think I can formalize that some more. I also think it's important to get feedback from staff, so I will continue to do my 3 times a year meetings with staff to get their feedback. The attendance was good, not great, and I totally get it. It's completely voluntary, but I want to get feedback from them on things that they see that we can improve within the district and families, whether it's coffee hours, surveys, or other ways to gather information, and then reflecting on all that. It's fine to meet with people, but what are we getting out of it? How are we improving our practices? And fourth, the district improvement goal, balanced technology integration. I do think this is a multi-year goal focused on expectations for balanced and purposeful technology use and expectations to support student growth and achievement. We've been one-to-one for many years. We started this building 11 years ago now. It's a one-to-one building. I think there's a lot of value in technology, but I think sometimes we become too reliant on technology. And it's interesting because I've heard from, community members, parents, concerns over the use of technology and the maybe over-reliance or too much technology. And that's something that's happening in schools, but it's also happening outside of schools. So I think it's going to be a multi-year goal because we have to look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and what we can, do to best serve our kids. And sometimes it's with technology, and sometimes it's not with technology. So those are the four overview goals.
All right, so let's go back through. Mr. Broadwell's first goal area is district data analysis. Does the committee have any questions, comments, or recommendations on this goal area? Ms. Palmieri, go ahead.
So where does your attendance data come from? Like, are you able to collect that data through Aspen, or are you having to hand collate that data, or is it kind of a mix?
We're able to pull it through Aspen, and also through the state. Through Sims. Yeah, we pull, and I think what we're looking at is numbers, chronic absenteeism has been a big focus over the past 2 years, looking at students who have a higher percentage of student absences, because obviously that's going to affect student learning. So through the Sims data, and what we've been working with the principals are, making contact with students and families to make sure we're getting them there as often as possible.
Okay, and what about your discipline data? That was what I meant to ask about, but I
Yep.
was looking at the work.
Yeah, Aspen is a primary way we're going to pull data from there.
So are your teachers able to report discipline issues through Aspen, and then you're able to see those reports? Is that how that works?
Yes,
Awesome, okay, that's awesome.
thank you.
Any other comments, questions from the committee? No? I think this is a strong goal overall. I think that it's really important that we're looking at data. I know we discussed this, feels like a million years ago, even though it was only June, to create a dashboard that's looking at more than just test scores, looking at absence, looking at attendance, looking at discipline, looking at, all of these different areas. I do want to caution against, just having it be looking at the data and really looking at analyzing the data. It could too easily become a checklist of, we looked at it. I think that you might consider even analyzing and looking at the data earlier in the year to look at baselines and maybe establish priority areas of things that you'd want to see improved.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions on goal 1? No? Okay, goal 2, instructional leadership. Questions, comments, discussion? No? So I have some comments on this one too.
That's fine.
So when I look at this, I see a lot of boxes to check. And I think that when we did your evaluation back in June, we looked at the area of management and operations being an area to improve. And I think that this goal is an opportunity to do that, to kind of place emphasis a little bit more on that management and operations and less on the minutia. We've always discussed you're a student-centered superintendent, you're in the classroom, you want to see what's going on. But I think you should consider shifting this goal more towards managing your administrators so that they can be concerned about the minutia. Just something to think about in the goals overall.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's me overseeing and also giving some direction and having expectations for certain things. Yes.
Any other comments or questions on goal 2? Okay, goal 3, stakeholder engagement and voice. Comments and questions here for discussion.
I haven't.
Mrs. Leach.
I would love to see the coffee hours be not so early in the morning.
Okay,
I think it's hard for a lot of families to get there when they have kids in multiple schools with
Sure.
multiple start times and the coffee hours at 8 a.m.
yeah.
I think it probably limits the younger parents or the parents of younger children, I should say, who are probably the ones that you haven't heard from yet.
Yeah,
And I
I-
think that might give, even if it's just a staggered across the year start time, I think it would be beneficial.
In the past, and again, I'm going back kind of far, but we've done a morning and then like an afternoon, and I'm fine with that because usually I'm around, so.
Or even 9, I think is great. It's just after
Okay.
that Spring Street start time. Some of those 8 a.m. ones are hard if Roselle
But
starts.
would you think if I did like a 3 o'clock, or is that then,
Then
I know.
Then they've all got their kids, unless you want the kids there.
I don't mind.
So
All
I
right.
think in the middle of the day is great.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yeah,
Miss-
I mean,
Mrs.
again,
Lizardi?
I know your contact with students and staff, again, like Robin said, has been one of your strongest areas. And, I've seen a lot of the summaries of the meetings, and I know that they're, happening, but just a better way to track what's being done with the information you glean from the meetings with both students and staff. I don't really know how to put it into words.
We did put mirrors back at the middle senior high school. Right? That was a
Right.
big push.
And I know,
They were very
I know
excited
not
about
everything
that.
can be
No,
fixed, and it's not everything can be
Yep.
done in the short term, but just kind of like an ongoing, whether you have some sort of ongoing tracking of this is being looked into, this was resolved, this is something that we can't fix,
Mhm.
I don't know. Just how information's being used and improved upon, I guess.
I think that's important because it's so much when we're working with students, and we want to do a check-in. So if we raise a question or a concern, how are we addressing that? And
Right.
sometimes it can be addressed, and sometimes it
Right.
can't be addressed. But at least we can follow through. So that's the tracking form makes sense.
This is a goal area that I actually have the strongest feedback, so I apologize in advance that it is pretty strong. See stakeholder engagement, student voice to be your area of strength. When I was elected to this committee 6 years ago, it was an area of strength. In your last evaluation, it was an area of significant strength with exceeding expectations in a lot of areas that were involved around communication and two-way communication. So I don't see this as a goal area. I don't see this as something you need to continue to improve. And I think that it is an opportunity for you to focus more on inclusion. I think shifting this goal away from, you kind of have this checklist of things you're going to do, meeting with students, getting feedback. And to Mrs. Lizardi's point about what do you do with that information, I'd rather see this shifted towards, we've gathered the information and these are things that I do, it's part of my job, and then what do I do with it? Because you already do all of this and you do it well. And we know that. So my suggestion, and I think I listed this in my evaluation, is to turn it into an SEL, specifically a bullying goal. It's been my area of concern for 6 years that we don't identify, investigate, report, and respond as efficiently and as strongly as we should. We still don't have a cohesive SEL curriculum after 6 years. And I'm going to be frank, we have kids leaving this district because they don't feel like they belong here. So this is an area that I think instead of just communicating with students, we look at making sure we're including all voices and then acting on those voices. So that's kind of my feedback there. Any other comments or questions from the committee?
Yeah, I can certainly look to modify, adapt. Absolutely.
All right, goal 4, balanced technology and integration. Questions and comments? I don't have anything here. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's great too.
I think it's a great goal.
I have a general question about the goals.
Yep.
When do we like, are we voting on these, or are we just talking about them? When does that happen? When does it get like finalized?
We will vote at the next
Okay.
meeting. So right now it's just about giving feedback to Mr. Bodwell, and if he chooses to adjust them, we'll vote on them next time.
Okay.
Now
thank you.
definitely make some reshare, well before.
All right, any other overall comments on the superintendent goals? Okay, moving on to unfinished business. We have update on the boosters and organizations compliance with policy KBE and the 501c3 status. Mr. Bodwell.
So we are in good shape. Every organization has either achieved or made significant progress. We have one left that's, I think, still a couple weeks away. But I think that's, again, progress has been made and it's been a focus area. And there is stuff that has to be done. So I'm pleased with the progress.
Okay. Any questions, discussion from the committee?
No.
In this area? I do have a question. I know you've got most information from most of the organizations, and that the process can take a long time. What's your procedure, and maybe you're still developing it, for the raffles and games of chance? Because that was a pretty big addition to policy KBE. And just to kind of remind and refresh the committee on this, it's been a state regulation. It's just not an area that districts have been consistently monitoring. And so that was a change to the policy to make sure that we're following rules around raffles and games of chance, because technically any kind of raffle that the district has is considered gambling. And so when we have minors involved with gambling. So my question is, how are you ensuring that organizations are following these rules? What's your procedure for approving any of these things?
We do have a form that's filled out and kind of goes through the building principles, but I think we need to continue to review that and also identify what's considered the game of chance and what's, is the cow plop, a game of chance, and making sure they get the proper, because I do know they have to go to the town for
Yes.
approval as well.
Yes, the town does have, and I know because we just did this with the CPAC, the town does, you have to fill out an application for raffles and bazaar permit, and it is good for a year, and it is relatively easy. There is a little bit of a delay on getting it, but it is relatively easy. Right. Any other questions in this area? Okay, moving on, we have discussion regarding requests for events with alcohol on school premises. So where we left this back in June is that the policy subcommittee was going to look at surrounding districts' policies, look at our current building, and then, Mr. Bodwell, you were going to kind of communicate with other town stakeholders. So do you have any updates?
So I did check in with the police chief. He will, any type of alcohol on town property needs to go through the Board of Selectmen, so they need to get a permit for that. So if the Board of Selectmen do approve, then he will ensure that they follow regulations or guidelines that he sets forward, which may be setting up perimeters. It would absolutely, according to the chief, include having a detail officer on site for the entire duration that alcohol would be served on school property. And we did check with our insurance company to make sure, and they said it would go back to the town in terms of their granting of the permit. I did talk to some other communities. They don't really have any strong policy language on it.
So I did actually run a search of the MASC policy index, and I was able to find about 30 towns that explicitly prohibit alcohol on school property. In this area, it includes Abington, Avon, Brockton, Carver, Plymouth, Foxborough, Hanover, Holbrook, Norwood. That's just a few. Our current building use policy states that it's allowed with school committee permission. So that's kind of where we are in terms of approving each individual request. Does anyone have any comments or questions or further thoughts in this area? Ms. Palmieri, go ahead.
I just want to reiterate my position on this issue. It seems like there are a lot of really easy, manageable avenues for making sure that there are guardrails in place to protect student safety, to protect the school from being liable for any injury. Like, I think that this is a very doable policy if we do allow it. And I also just want to reiterate the fact that we are a small town. A majority of our residents are not residents that any longer have children in school, that aren't actively using the school department as a service. So I think that in order to ensure that all of our residents are able to almost like see a return on the massive investment of tax dollars of building this giant, massive, beautiful school building, I think that it's important that we do what we can to make sure that members of our community can use that school building, whether they have children in the district or not. So I just want to reiterate my position and make that known. I have no problem with having guardrails in place. I have no problem with making sure that our policy is really strict about making sure people are safe, making sure that the school is a safe place, making sure that extra staffing or extra cleanup or any extras that are incurred if we do choose to enact a policy like this are paid for. I want to make sure everyone's safe, but at the same time, I do think it's really important that all of our residents are able to use a service that they paid for.
Thank you. Does anyone have any? Mrs. Weech.
You want to go first?
Mrs. Lazari, Mrs. Weech. go
Either
ahead.
way.
I think that it's fine to say outside. I would caution against inside. I think we don't have the ability to shut down hallways and areas of the school the way, assuming it's this school we're talking about. I think that it's a slippery slope. I would disagree that not allowing alcohol in the building prevents people from using the building. I would say that that's a slippery slope to say you can't enjoy it unless there's alcohol. I think that that's not the thing we're trying to put out here. I think that beer gardens for, outside events or wine trucks, things like that, I think that that is fine. I would caution against inside. I think that we don't want to be having 50th birthday parties in the gym
Yeah.
with alcohol and people roaming the halls, I don't think.
Yeah. Mrs. Lazardi?
Yeah, so my position hasn't really changed since June, and I have real mixed feelings on the subject. I understand that for many adults, alcohol would, drive participation and could drive fundraising sales, things like that. However, public schools to me should be a substance-free zone. I think it should be a space that's safe for everyone, and that includes, people maybe who have a history of substance abuse issues. I think it also is important to think about the examples that we set for the children in the district. And I, as someone that in my own private time, I will have a drink occasionally. I don't think we should necessarily, I don't want to teach the children that alcohol is required to have a good time, if that makes sense. I don't really know how
Yeah.
to put into words.
My opinion actually has changed since the spring. I see Ms. Palmieri has her hand up again. Before we continue discussion, though, I want to put it out there that currently we have a policy in place that allows alcohol on school property with school committee approval, and then, of course, to go through the whole town process. So is there a motion, or if we're going to continue to think about whether or not we're going to change this, does anyone feel comfortable making a motion to either change the current policy or keep the current policy in place?
I would make a motion to just keep the current policy in place and we can review them on a case-by-case basis.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll continue discussion. Ms. Palmieri, you're next.
Sure. I just wanted to point out too that because of the suggested guardrails that I'm all for, things like having a police detail, a liquor license, I think that those things are enough of a process and they're cost restrictive enough that they would prevent the situation of people having their birthday parties in the gym. But I think having like a reunion or an event there, or even like a fundraiser for the YAA that's just all adults and all parents, or maybe a gala, like I think that those would be more of the types of events that would be looking at using such a large space. And again, we built this big, beautiful school, and a lot of people voted yes, even though they didn't have children in the district and their taxes went way up because they were under the impression that this was going to be a kind of community center. So I think if we're going to offer a service, I think it should be as broad as possible while still keeping it safe for everybody. I want to stress that, like I can't stress that enough. Safety, 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 but also it's important that the taxpayers who paid on this and invested in it are seeing some return on their investment. And I just think this would go a long way in creating some goodwill with residents of the community going forward.
Thank you. Any other? So my opinion has changed, actually, in reading other policies and having discussions. I am, and I completely respect the viewpoints here, but I disagree. I don't think that alcohol should be served on school premises, whether it's during the school day or outside of the school day. Ultimately, I understand the perspective that the community voted for this big school, but they voted for this school to be an educational institution. So that's just my viewpoint. Does anyone else have any discussion?
Do any other, sorry. Do
Mr.
any
Waller?
other town buildings, like, do they have like a wine and paint night at the library or stuff like that? I feel like they used to do stuff like that. I don't know if that happens anymore. I'm just wondering if it's like happening anywhere else in town.
That means-
Like, I know,
mean,
it, like for the YA, we do it at like the baseball field. I know
Yeah.
that, but, I mean, I guess
to my-
technically that's all.
sorry,
it is.
just
Go ahead,
to my
Mrs. Ard.
knowledge, I mean, they have paint nights at the library. I don't believe they have wine.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't speak for certain, 100% certainty that they.
Yeah, I'm sure nothing's happening at town hall.
Right.
So
Not
like,
that-
where else? I mean, I can really, maybe the Council of Aging, maybe they do something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I haven't heard,
I don't know.
but I think the only time I know was the, kind of the farewell event at the old high school, before it got torn down. There was a one-day license for that.
Okay, any other discussion? Are we prepared to vote on this? So just to refresh, the motion on the table is to leave the current policy in place, which states that alcohol will be allowed with school committee consideration and approval.
I just had a question, because I know this is being discussed because we had had a request in the spring that we didn't have enough time to approve with our meetings, correct? And I think it was you, Robin, who suggested that we create a blanket policy so that we weren't discriminating case by case for whoever was requesting. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, again, I see both sides. I feel like sometimes leaving a case-by-case policy, makes it discretionary for whoever the current school committee is. But having one policy and that's it might make it more fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little torn.
Mrs. Weech?
I don't know how we would put one in place that allow, like, we'd either have to
Right.
say not allowed or allowed, and I don't know how, we could never just be like, it's allowed, like,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah, I
feel
feel
like
like a blanket
it's
one
a
gets
blank,
scary.
I think the only blanket
No,
one we
it
could
would be
do
a
is
no.
no.
Correct.
And I'm all for no, but, I could be convinced that outside is fine for special circumstances, and,
Yeah.
and again, I do think it is gonna be a case by case, no matter what we
Yeah,
do.
very specific. Mrs. Lizardi?
I'm just not making an official motion. Would we want to consider amending the motion to keep it as is with the clause that it would only ever be allowed outside? I don't know, on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, we could, if you want to amend the motion. Or we can
I don't
vote
know, I mean,
on
I can.
this one, and, is your hand right? I can't tell. It went up and then it went down. Ms. Palmieri?
It was. Can I comment before we vote?
Yes, yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I guess it seems to me, after listening to everybody's concerns, that the concern is where do we say yes and where do we say no?
Yeah.
So I think if we amend our policy, the amendment should be creating some criteria for events that will allow versus events that will disallow. So do we think that this needs some more research and some discussion in the sense of thinking about what events are acceptable and what makes them acceptable, and what guardrails need to exist so that someone comes to school committee, says, I want to have this event in the gym, I do want to allow alcohol, this is the criteria that I've met, this is the way that I've made this a safe, appropriate event to have at a school, yes or no. And that way no one can ever say, you just don't want alcohol at school. It's a very clear, these are our criteria, and we can outline those in our policy. Does that make sense, rather than just voting on it now?
It does make sense. So the motion we have on the table is to keep the current policy. So I'm going to propose kind of think forward here. If the motion passes that we keep the current policy in place, then a second motion can be made that we then develop criteria. If the motion does not pass, then we do need to put another motion on the table to kind of come up with what we're going to do. Does everybody understand? Make sense? Okay. Mrs. Weech?
Do we need to vote to keep something the same?
Well, if we have a motion on the table, we do.
I can retract my motion and we can move on, so I'm fine with that.
Are you retracting your motion?
Sure,
Okay.
retracted.
Motion retracted. Well, then I'm going to make a motion. I move that we amend our policy to prohibit alcohol on school property, in and out. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All right. Any further discussion on this area? No? Okay. Going to push for a vote. Mrs. Weech, the roll call?
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech? No. Waller?
No.
Palmieri?
No.
Okay. Oh, you read it back for me?
Oh, sorry. Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, no. Waller, no. Palmieri, no.
Okay. Motion failed. So, how do we proceed?
I'd like to make a motion that we
for it.
consider alcohol on premises, outdoors only, and that we continue to write criteria for that situation.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. I'll second it. Discussion?
I mean,
Mrs.
my
Lizardi.
question is this something that we could push to the policy subcommittee to kind of work on and bring back to
Draft.
us the next meeting?
I like that.
Absolutely.
I don't want to vote on something if it's not.
Yep.
Let's
Yeah.
amend my
Like-
motion to bring this to policy subcommittee and do some research and figure out what the correct process is and hope that we get no requests in the next 30 days.
Okay. Is there a second on the amendment?
Second.
I
Okay.
think Lexi has her hand up.
Further discussion? I'm sorry.
I think she had it from the last discussion. So you
Go ahead, Lexi.
So I agree that this should be pushed to policy
Okay.
subcommittee, and I also think too that, oh, what was I going to say? Give me a second. Oh, the only problem that I can see with that is we live in New England. What happens in inclement weather? You know, everybody shows up for this outdoor event. Do they all have to go home and then they have to hire vendors and reschedule for another day? So I definitely think this, like, I'm totally in favor of bringing this to policy subcommittee, doing some more research and discussing a little bit further.
Yeah. Any other further discussion? Okay, so just to refresh, we have an amended motion on the table to defer this to the policy subcommittee, looking at allowing alcohol with school committee permission outside of the building. Was there another piece to
Okay,
it?
there you go.
Yes, was there another piece of the motion that I'm forgetting?
And continuing, just do the research.
And continue to research, yes. Mr. Bodwell, do you want to add
My,
something?
my comment would just be, I'd have much more of a concern at events with students there. Any students that are there. Not that, you know, I still have feelings on having it in school or even on school grounds, but I have serious concerns of events at school, in school, or on school grounds with students.
Yeah, I don't think we'd ever allow one with students present. That would be my personal opinion.
Or anyone under 21.
But I actually think Lexi brought up a pretty good point about, like, I didn't think of, like, you know, having a class reunion in there. I mean, that one, I'm really not against that. So, like, that's why I think kind of keeping it case by case might be okay. You know, like, well after
Policy can
hours and, yeah.
Look at
yeah.
it all, right?
Yep. Okay, so are we prepared to vote on the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Weech, the roll call?
Oh, Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech, yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Oh, Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Motion passed. Okay. Moving on to new business. We have the district appointment of a DEI officer. Mr. Bodwell?
So this came through the MASs and our legal counsel that it's something that was an act back in 2024, but it's, districts have not really been fully compliant, nor have we. So it's something that our legal attorney said we really need to get on and make sure we are compliant with this act to appoint or designate a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer or establish a diversity team. The act does permit districts to satisfy the requirement by assigning these responsibilities to an existing employee, so it's not requiring you to hire someone new from the outside. The district must also provide information identifying the designated officer or team on our website, and the act also requires school districts to establish a process for advising the school committee or board of trustees on these matters. And I did share with you a sample job description, some areas of focus, some things that we are in some form or fashion, some we're doing, some would be new, but also some added responsibilities in this position. And I have talked to Mrs. Yanis, and she is willing and able to take on some of these, these responsibilities. But I think it's something that I would highly recommend that we approve this for our district.
Any discussion on the DEI officer position? Okay, I think it's great. It meets requirements anyway. I think Mrs. Yanis, with everything she's already doing currently, and I know that this is an area of interest for her. The only feedback that I gave on the job description was just including the advisory to the school committee, because I think that that is an area that we should be receiving advisory on, so.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. Oh, Mrs. Palmieri, go ahead.
So upon reading the job description, it seems like a lot of those tasks fall squarely within the scope of everyone, all the way from the superintendent all the way down to your teachers. So I guess it gives me pause to think, like, why are we creating a position for something that everybody should already be doing? Everyone is already doing. And if it's not, like, it's things that are firmly within Mr. Bodwell, either your scope or the scope of the principals in the district, or the team leaders and classroom teachers. So to me, this seems like we're just creating a position to check a box. And I totally understand that my opinion is not the popular one, and that it's going to get, and that, my no vote will be shot down, but I just want to go on the record as having said, everything included in this job description is something that teachers, principals, and the superintendent is already doing, or should already be doing. And I don't see the purpose of creating a position to do that, except to check a box because the state of Massachusetts said so. And having lived in the state of Massachusetts my whole life, I don't know that that's a good enough reason to vote yes. I just want to go on the record.
Okay. Any other discussion items? Ms.
Well, I think
Farbach?
just in response, I do agree that we have responsibilities of all of our staff to fulfill some of these duties, but we're required to have an officer, and I think we need someone that provides oversight. And as part of these acts of 2024, they're saying you need to designate someone who can be that person who is responsible for overseeing all these responsibilities. Again, some districts have chosen to hire someone separate. We're looking to make these responsibilities of an existing staff member.
Mr. Wallace, go
Just to
ahead.
add off of that too, like I agree with what Mark said, but I also think there's some value in what Lexi said. Like I think having a point person is smart, but then I also think I think part of the law, if I read it correctly, also said it could be like a team. Like I wouldn't hate the idea of like the point person runs a meeting with the principals and maybe some select people from the teachers to make sure it is like kind of like a team approach. So,
And I don't disagree, and I think part of what we do right now is we have SEL teams in each building, so I think that could be incorporated into that.
yeah, perfect.
Team. So there, again, I totally appreciate and value sharing of responsibilities and having someone who's that point person who can oversee the building administrators as well as, then they're looking over their teams within the buildings. Yep, good points.
Any other discussion? So this is not a voting issue unless we choose to make it one. So, okay. Moving on, quarterly dashboard data review discussion.
This is Giannis.
So when we were talking earlier about what to do with the data, I have actually created some dashboards, but I also created an MTSS risk calculator, which takes all the data we were talking about earlier, puts it into a spreadsheet with formulas to create different tiers of instruction for different students, so we can readily see, if we sort it, who needs the tier 3 instruction, who needs the tier 2, and it would start with end of the year data from last year and continue with beginning of the year data this year. So it's already started, and it looks pretty good right now. So, and then we'll have the quarterly updates. It might be harder to do quarterly, but we can always work on that because we test or assess 3 times a year.
You're talking about like star data and, yeah, beginning,
Star
middle, and then.
dibbles, attendance, vocal, discipline, belonging data.
Definitely a work in progress and starting somewhat from scratch in terms of what we're gathering and how we're gathering it and how we're sharing it out with the other administrators.
I'm a visual person, so if we could get a list of actually what is, what we're reporting on, that would be great. I know,
Yeah, I was just to piggyback
Yeah.
off that. Like I love it, and like whenever it's ready for like a demo, I think that'd be cool. Like if we could do that in one of these meetings, just throw it up on the thing. And I mean, I know you with the student's name you
Yeah,
can't, but
right.
if we do like a sample, you know,
We
like
can hide the, we can hide
Joe
those
student,
columns.
you
Yep.
know, or whatever. Yeah.
Nope.
Hide the columns.
Yeah. Okay.
Show.
Sure.
any other discussion or questions in this area? Mrs. Palmieri, go ahead.
What platform are you using to like compile all of this data? Are you using Google Sheets?
Yep.
Are you using Smartsheets? You're using Google Sheets?
Yep.
Okay.
Great. You still get your hand raised. Oh, you're good. Okay. So I had mentioned in June, I just wanted to make sure that we were really looking at more than just test data. I did receive an email over the weekend from a parent. I did share that email with the rest of the committee. I'm not going to read the entire thing here, but I'm going to give a synopsis, and there is one paragraph that the person closes with that I think holds a lot of value. The general idea of the email is they see the value in looking at the data, but they caution against looking at just test scores, which I think we understand. And they say, I hope the committee continues to hold district leadership accountable while also recognizing that meaningful improvement is measured by more than a single set of scores. We should absolutely continue aiming high for our students while recognizing that strong systems, effective instruction, student engagement, staff retention, school culture, and sustainable growth all contribute to long-term success. Looking at those foundations alongside academic outcomes provides a more complete picture of how a district is progressing.
And that's in the EWIS data.
Yeah.
All of those.
Great, great. Yeah, I just kind of want to piggyback on that too, that, one test score, and I know we are doing STAR testing multiple times a year, but if we're only looking at MCAS, or we're only looking at, AP test scores, one test score doesn't give a complete picture, so it's important to look at those things.
Triangulate the data.
Okay,
And just so those that don't know, EWIS is,
Early warning indicator system.
so you're looking at lots of different data and identifying
It
who's
has
most at
teacher
risk.
retention. It has, and it will list a student as high, medium, or low risk based on all of these indicators. So teachers.
Yep.
Attendance, behavior. That's another piece of it.
great. Mrs. Palmieri, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we were all able to see that letter from that parent. I agree as a former teacher myself. I agree that you can't get a picture of the whole child from just one test score. But at the same time, I work in the corporate world. I'm sure you guys also have touch points, at like outside of the school world, and the entire world operates on KPIs and data. So at the end of the day, it's really important that we have something where we're able to look at a student's performance by some kind of measure, and that way be able to know where we need to focus more and where we're exceeding. So I totally appreciate that parent's point of view. I appreciate your point of view, Robin, but at the same time, key performance indicators exist and have existed in the business world for a long time for a reason. And I think that approaching things with a little bit of that perspective can be really helpful, just for us to know what work needs to be done and where our focus areas need to be.
Any other discussion on this? Okay, thank you, Mrs. Yanis. Okay, next we have the annual review of the bullying and intervention plan. Mr. Bottle, do you have any updates on this?
I don't really. I think it's pretty much as is. I think I did reach out to the administrators to review and to see. Again, this is a document that we created years ago from the state template, and we've modified a little bit over time. But it's remained pretty much the same over the years.
Okay. Any further discussion on the bullying plan?
No, I think I was just surprised that there haven't been anything that needed to be updated in a year and a half, I guess. I don't know. Nothing seems completely out of pocket, but.
So we did just, we have JICFB bullying prevention open. So Mrs. Weech and I will discuss a little bit further when we talk about those policies. But I did look at both the policy and the plan hand in hand, and there are a lot of areas. I think the plan is comprehensive, but I do think it's notably softer than the policy in a lot of areas. So I do think it needs to be looked at. I think it needs to be cleaned up. For example, the plan says, the policy, so the school committee policy says there's a 14-day investigation completion deadline. The plan says these investigations will be conducted promptly, so it's very subjective. It also says there's going to be weekly parent contact on the status of the investigation, monthly superintendent reporting requirement, and a file management system. So, there are a lot of areas here that I think really need to be cleaned up in the plan to be in compliance with the policy.
And one of, what we did last year is we created a checklist. So where all the administrators are going through the same information in the same order to gather information and to make sure they're hitting those timelines in terms of reporting back. So we've reviewed that over the summer to make sure we are consistent in that. And the other thing that we've also done is our data collection. So we have a shared Google sheet that's going to share information. So they'll be adding to it information, and then they'll be shared with me, but we'll also be doing the monthly updates to make sure that the information is getting to me in a timely manner. It's really live, but it'll be discussed. It'll be part of our monthly agenda meetings for the admin team.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? I have more, but I'll pass the torch.
Right this minute.
I do kind of have a bulleted list here. There are some things like the policy states all staff and volunteers must be trained, but the plan only covers staff members. It doesn't cover training of volunteers. It also references that there's going to be an anonymous reporting method. I don't see that anywhere in the plan.
The online version?
The form. That form, you're right,
Yeah.
okay. There's one other thing too. Section 7 says that the district is piloting and researching various curricula. So this is a 2025 revision. So I pulled up the 2023 revised document, and it was in there verbatim. So at this point, when we reviewed it in 2023, we reviewed it in 2025, and now here we are in 2026, and we're still evaluating curricula. I think that we need to fix that.
Well, and I know that our middle school team uses online curriculum, and I know our health teacher, we've talked about that in terms of monitoring what's going on with the elementary health class as part of the specialist program. So I think that probably has been not updated there, but needs to be, it's been discussed and worked on, and
Okay.
some changes, but I think it's worth updating that.
All right. Any other discussion or questions here? Okay, is there a motion to approve the district bullying and intervention plan?
Motion to approve the district bullying prevention plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, second, yeah, seconded by Mr. Weller. Discussion, I mean, just to put my vote out there, I'm gonna be a no on this until the revisions are made, and that's okay. You know, we can review it again next month or whenever it's ready.
Yeah, I agree. I'm worried that if we approve it now, then it'll be a whole other year before it matches up better with the policy.
Does that put us in a tough spot before school starts to not have one in place?
I mean, we were still gonna follow the protocols
Yeah, I
that
mean,
we've
we have-
established, so I would say no. And I think we can get it done in September as long as, you know, we
Okay,
kind of cross-check what the concerns are.
okay.
But we're still gonna follow procedures.
I know, but
You know, and
it's one of those
follow-
things where I'm like,
yeah.
it
Yeah.
seems
Yep.
risky to not have something in place the first day of school. So,
Well,
Yeah,
Sorry. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily
This is like-
revoke that this exists, it's just not
It's not updated.
approving it for our
Yeah.
annual
okay,
requirement.
and I do think a lot of the content, I mean, the plan has a lot of information in it that, I mean, all of the definitions are accurate, all of, the meat of it, I think, is accurate, and I think that's what's presented to parents, and students are, you know, need to understand what bullying is and how to report it. It's more of these little compliance issues and making sure that we're tightening up the reporting and the investigating and the response piece of it and making sure that that's in line. So I think that the plan we have is good, it just needs to be cleaned up, so. Any other discussion?
I can amend my motion then if we want, but I don't know how we want to go on this.
No, well, so I'm gonna move to vote on the motion that we have. So the motion on the table is to approve the bullying plan. And any further discussion? All right, wanna run the roll call?
Dragonetti?
No.
Lizardi?
No.
Weech? Yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Okay. Motion
Oh,
passed.
I do have to read it back, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Dragonetti, no. Lizardi, no. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Okay, so motion passed. So we have voted on this, the plan, we've put it in place. I am going to strongly suggest that you look at revisions.
Can I make another motion?
Oh, absolutely, go
I'd like
for
to
it.
make another motion that we review this in policy and work with Mark to clean it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Similar to what we've done in the past, send me
Yeah.
the questions, concerns, the thing, then we'll work with the administrators and
Yep.
clean it up. That
That-
easily can be done.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a second on that
Second.
motion? Further discussion? Okay, roll call?
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech, yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Okay, motion passed. So we'll discuss it again in September. Next item on the list is the annual review of the Safe Schools Crisis Management Protocol. Mrs. Page.
So we actually reviewed this at our June Safe Schools meeting. The only revision was from the fire, from going to 3 to 4 fire drills a year. Other than that, it all stayed, other than dates and things like that.
Okay. Any questions on this? Any discussion points? I looked at this, I compared it to policy EBC, which we had open at some point, I think in June. And I cross-referenced the MERP as well, because you can't really look at this plan and, without looking at the MERP and comparing it to our emergency protocols. The only area that I would suggest is, you know, it states in our policy, the plans must be reviewed with police and fire and submitted to DESI every 3 years, or when changes occur. So my only suggestion is that we just add when it was submitted and when it was reviewed,
Is
a
that
date.
for the MERP?
It's, so according to EBC,
Yeah.
that our safety plans. It doesn't specify crisis management versus medical emergency
As far
response
as I know,
plan.
MERP is the only one that they ever required uploading every 3 years. That they've
That's
been
fine.
asked for, but we can still submit it. We haven't, as far as I know, we haven't asked, but I will.
The policy also states that it'd be reviewed by police and fire, which I
Yeah.
know is happening. I know that's happening.
Yeah,
So
that
I'm
part
just
is-
suggesting we put the date in
Yeah,
there.
perfect.
You know, last review date.
It would have been June of 26.
Perfect. That's my only
Yeah,
suggestion.
good.
All right, is there a motion to approve the Safe Schools Crisis Management Protocol?
Motion to approve the Safe Schools Crisis Management Protocol.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion, further discussion? Okay, roll call, Mrs. Weech?
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech? Yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
All right, motion passed unanimously.
I just want to say thank you to Mrs. Page and that entire committee. They do great work, and I think the collaboration is outstanding with both the schools and the town. They're doing an excellent job.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Middle Senior High School Student Handbook. Mrs. Page.
So I am not an editor, clearly. So I have the handbook for approval, but there are a few edits, typos that I need to make. So I don't know if you want to just hold off until October.
Well, so we meet September
There was some that was
14th.
just like, there was some that was literally like, instead of
Yeah.
excused, it was unexcused. There was a policy that was, needed to be updated. So there were a couple of things, nothing glaring. The one
Yeah.
about, I think you had the question, Robin,
Mhm.
for reasonable suspicion and searching.
Yeah, so there's addition of language that if there's reasonable suspicion that a student has a vape pen on their person, that they, you know, the district can use a wand, a metal detecting wand to identify. And my concern is just that we've run this by the attorney and that the language there is, you know, because we're now looking at searching students and,
We've always searched though.
yeah, so, but I feel like it
And
should be clean.
We did reach out to the attorney with the language you said. We haven't heard back yet as of this, but it came up actually at a principal's meeting that some schools are using
Yeah.
it. And it's really just hopefully to deter kids from, because they hide them in their undergarments. So it's really just to try and
Which-
deter them bringing them into the building. We hope we never have to use it, you know? But what happens is, you know, somebody will come down or email us and say, hey, I just saw so-and-so smoking a vape in the bathroom. So that's our reasonable suspicion. And then we search
So we're gonna hold that piece until we get
until we hear.
Okay.
more information
So
back
that
from
actually,
the attorney.
that actually brought up another question in my mind. If we've always searched students, I didn't see in the handbook or in any of our policies around protocols for searching students. And so that's concerning to me. And maybe they're there and I just didn't see them. But I think we should be looking into that a little bit closer. I know it specifically says in the handbook that we can search lockers, we can search cars that are on school property, but it's not specific to the person, searching a person, so
Yeah,
I'd like to see that incorporated in there somewhere.
It might be, if approved, we're gonna hold on the wand. It could be, we could add that in at a future meeting along with protocols, student search.
Yeah.
We've never had them in the
No.
handbook, but that's not a bad idea to have that in there for, again, it allows parents and students to know what the expectation is.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think I did have a question. I don't remember who asked me. Can our students be searched at school? And can you take a student's phone and go through a student's phone? And so if we don't have that written
You
anywhere.
can't legally go through a student's phone. They have to
Yeah,
allow you to. That you cannot do, but we are allowed by law to search.
okay. Yeah, so just cleaning that up so that parents know what to expect. you know, I had a couple of other comments in there. I sent them in advance to Mrs. Page. I'm gonna just run through them quickly. She's already made some of those adjustments. So like you said, page 14, under excused absences, it said, it just wasn't clear. It said unexcused when it should have said excused, so we're gonna make that adjustment, or Mrs. Page is gonna make that adjustment. On page 14, there's addition of information around an excused absence if a student is taking a road test, and it specifically says proof of their results. And my question was, why would we need proof of the results? Yeah, proof of appointment, so that would be adjusted as well. Some of the policy information needed to be updated, so policy AGBD, which is the Title IX grievance procedure, needed to be included. A couple of the years needed to be changed. One of the things that is coming up on the agenda a little bit later is the medication policy. So it's inconsistent in this handbook and in the elementary handbook about whether or not students may carry medication on their person. There is, and as I said, there's a policy that the policy committee will be looking at. In the handbook, it, for the most part, broadly across the entire handbook, it says students may not carry, but there is one line in both handbooks that says they can with nurse permission. So it's just inconsistent.
I feel like it's probably for field trips too.
Yeah.
I mean, with the EpiPen, something like that.
Yeah.
I'll
And-
check with Julie.
Yeah, and I think the reason that this policy was created is because we have so many students now with diabetes who have insulin pumps, so technically they're carrying medication on their person. If they need to have their EpiPen with them, that's a medication on their person, so it creates this important loophole to what's already in there. I think that's it, Ms. Page, you and I talked about.
Because it
Oh,
was
yeah.
two separate places, buses. The thing is, you go through it and you're reading bus up here, then you get down to transportation,
Yep.
you're getting buses up there. But yeah, some of the work, we can combine it.
Okay. So I've already forgotten, do we have a motion on the table for this?
Not yet.
Okay. Is there a motion?
A motion to wait till next month on this one, I think.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Does that create
I was
any?
just gonna ask,
Yeah, that's my question.
What
Does
is
it
your
create
cons-
any issues?
I think Lexi has a question.
Ms. Palmieri?
No, I was just going to make the same motion and then I was gonna second it, so.
Okay. So does this create any issues for the opening of school?
if it's,
Yeah.
Start signing off on handbooks.
Yeah.
that would be my concern.
Can I speak? Or do I have to wait? I'll just wait.
And
I have a
there-
question.
Ms. Beach, sorry.
I know that you've added the e-bike policy or thing, and I don't think you want to start school without that in
Oh,
place.
yes.
And then,
In fact, that's the one that's so tricky.
I'm with you.
Because for some of these kids, it's the only way to do it. But they're so dangerous when they come in, so we were going to work with students about not on school property. You know what I mean? So like, you have to be riding or on school property. Because there are kids that come there sometimes. So we really wanted to put it in there just so we could, if need be, if they are reckless, to be able to enforce it. But we're not looking to make any students' ability to get to school.
I mean, to go back to your question, I do have a slight concern in terms of not having, an approved handbook to
Right.
start the year
Right.
that's updated. I do see that some of those are more, cleaning up things and not content-wise. I do think pulling back things like until we get more information from the attorney with the search, I think it's a good idea to put search, protocols and procedures in, but those can always be added.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just,
Which I already, as we were going back and forth, I updated already.
I don't want to push something
Yeah.
through, but I also want to make sure that if there's a major discipline issue, the first week of school, that we have students who are signing off.
So I think that my main concern, if I have to rank, what do we need here and what do we don't? My main concern is the vaping piece, the medication piece. there were a couple of other things that you already changed. So I think it would, do you think it would be reasonable if we voted on this minus striking those pieces from the handbook so that you have something to hand out and then we re-review in
And quite frankly,
September?
the whole vaping thing with
Yeah.
the wand, but we've been living without it for these many years. If we had to wait till next year, then we wait till next year.
And gone are the days of thankfully having to print, so we can
Yeah.
change the
Yeah.
date and send out notice that we've updated.
That this was the update,
We can
yeah.
even highlight the updates so parents are aware of that. I think that'd be helpful.
Okay. So the current motion we have on the table is to approve this handbook as written. So is there amendment to the motion, or do we want to vote on it? Is there an amendment?
Amend it to remove, I don't know, what, the vaping and to include grammatical corrections over the next few days.
Yes. Is there a second on the amendment?
Second.
All right. Okay, discussion on the matter? I know, we're in the weeds now. And I don't even know, I know we can amend an motion, but can we amend an amendment on a motion? And I'm looking over at Maureen, because I'm like, So I would move to amend further to include that we strike students may not carry medication on their person in the handbook. Because it's not consistent. It says it in some places that they can, and it says it in other places that they can't.
Okay.
So that would be my,
Second,
is there
the
a second?
amendment of the amendment.
Okay, further discussion.
And that's how we enforce it. They don't.
Yeah, and that's gonna be an issue that we look at next month anyway. Okay, roll call on the vote.
Dragonetti,
Yes.
Lizardi,
Yes.
Weech, yes. Waller,
Yes.
Palmieri.
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Okay, motion passed. So just to recap, we're gonna take out the vaping, take out the medication can be carried, and we will discuss it next month. Perfect. Thank you.
Athletic handbook is much easier.
Athletic handbook.
The change in the fee and the family pack.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the middle senior high school athletic handbook?
Motion to approve the middle senior high school athletic handbook.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion on this. Okay, move to vote. Go ahead. Roll call?
Dragonetti,
Yes.
Lizardi,
Yes.
Weech, yes. Waller,
Yes.
Palmieri.
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Motion passed unanimously. All right, and then middle senior high school senior privilege permission slip, 2627, Mrs. Page.
Same date changes. Where is it?
And when do you look to potentially,
Funny, last year we decided to kind of hold it back a little bit because we were giving them early enough that I think our lovely seniors forgot about what it's like to be in power block and going through the proper procedures. So I think we're gonna wait till probably, first progress report. We did it last year, it was much better,
Okay.
yes.
I missed earlier. It says senior class of 2026, but it should say senior class of 2027.
That was gonna be my question too. Did you see that I had put a suggested?
You know, I taught Spanish back in the day, right? I need to get a better editor. Yeah, we'll fix that.
Okay, all right. And I've already forgotten. Do we have a motion on the table on
No.
this one? All right, motion. Is there a motion to approve the senior priv permission form for 2627?
Motion to approve the form with the small edit.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Ready?
Okay.
Dragonetti,
Yes.
Lizardi,
Yes.
Weech, yes. Waller,
Yes.
Palmieri.
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Page. All right, next up, we have Mrs. Goulet and Mrs. Jufrey for the preschool and elementary student handbooks.
So for the preschool handbook, this is probably the first time you've seen it. Thanks to Mrs. Ellis who brought it to my attention that this is actually a handbook that's never been approved by the school committee.
been in place before me. Some of the links actually went back to Mrs. Spencer, who was the principal here when I started. So, things that have been updated, I did not redline it because you have not previously approved it. So obviously staffing, some of the emails, I've gone through and made sure, I think, that all the links, the policies are correct. And typically what changed every year in this was the models of preschool has changed a couple of different times. We've done more full day than we used to have. So those descriptions and the cost, if there's a change, there was not a change this year from last year, the tuition cost. The handbook being separate from the elementary was a requirement of it's the NEAYC, which we used to have accreditation. It's like the New England Association of Young Children. We don't hold that accreditation anymore. There was a cost associated with it, and it really, from what I understand, there was no benefit to the program being part of that. So holding the handbook separate was a requirement of that accreditation, hence why it's not part of the K to 6. It's online, parents have access to it.
Great. Is there a motion to approve the preschool? We'll start with the preschool. Is there a motion to approve the preschool student handbook?
Motion to approve the preschool student handbook.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. Ms. Lazardi, I'm going to call on you before you even raise your hand.
So, again, it's been a while since I looked at this, since my kids were in preschool. I am curious, though, how were the costs determined by the 3 programs?
Sure, so a couple of years ago, especially when we went to more full day, we went and looked at area schools and what they were charging. We tried to stay within the range because we didn't want to outprice ourselves. So we tried to stay aligned with what the program was offering, how many hours it was. We've done small increases as the years have gone on, knowing that, you know, the full day obviously is a lot more money. So we're trying to stay in line, and that's one of the reasons why we did not increase the cost for this year, trying to make sure parents can still afford it. Fortunately, we still have a wait list of parents who are wanting to get in, so that tells us too that we're not too out of the range in those families in West Bridgewater, because we want to make sure it's affordable for everyone.
I think my biggest concern was just the disparity between the 2 full-day programs and the 1 morning program, considering the amount of hours those children are there, yet they're paying more than half the cost of the 2 full-day programs. That's why I was kind of curious about, like, how that was
There
determined.
And I can look it up for you. I have definitely notes back from when we did, I think it was 2 years ago, we increased prices and kind of went with the new model. There was a whole formula.
Yeah, and I know things have
That's not
changed
my
a lot
thing,
in the
so I
last few
can't
years.
remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, it just seems to be a considerable cost considering how many fewer hours the students are actually in the program. And it was the first I had seen it, so.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, it's 5 hours
Yeah.
versus 16 and a half, and 22 on the top program, so, I don't know.
I think, you know, this is something that, I mean, it's just my opinion, that, you know, it is what it is for this year, but it's something that the budget
Yeah.
subcommittee, where we're looking so closely at athletic fees and activity fees, that this should be something for review by the budget subcommittee in the
I
future.
agree, yeah. Which again was why I was like, wow, how is this the first I'm seeing this?
Any further discussion on the preschool handbook? Okay, Mrs. Weech, roll call.
Jaconetti?
Yes.
Lazardi?
Yes.
Weech? Yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Jaconetti, yes. Lazardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Moving on, the elementary handbook.
So I feel like we might be in the same place Mrs. Page was a couple minutes ago. So Mrs. Dragonetti sent some suggestions 4 minutes before the meeting started. So we didn't even get a start to any of those, but I talked to Mrs. Dupree, and we have during this stuff time either tomorrow or Wednesday to start chipping away at those. But just to go through some of the changes that are there, you have the breakdown. Are there any questions? Do you want to, Robin, do you want me to go through some of the suggestions you have, or do you want to go through it?
You can go ahead. I talk too much.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So the first, we have some dates to update. The first thing to look at is the language. We added language about the school being under video surveillance, and it literally is a sentence that says, hang on a second. I said I was ready, and I'm not ready. For the safety and security of students, staff, and visitors, school property and facilities are under continuous video surveillance. And Robin suggested we might want to change the language there so that people don't think we're like watching their kids in the bathroom.
Yeah,
So
just
we can-
clarify designated
Right,
areas,
and
yeah.
classrooms aren't.
Yeah, classrooms too,
Correct.
yeah.
So,
Except in the gym.
public spaces.
Yeah,
We should make sure our language says the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Then we have some references to special ed law that need to be updated. In our attendance section, this made me laugh. The first paragraph says, parents must call the school secretary. And then the second paragraph talks about what you do when your kid is sick, but the first sentence is an identical replication of the first one, just saying, parents must call the school nurse. Who they call? So we just need to clean that up. And then there's a sentence that says, students whose behavior may cause a safety concern on a field trip, hang on. In the cases where the behavior of a student is a safety concern, parents/guardians may be required to accompany their child on the trip, or the student will not be allowed to attend the field trip with their class. So we need to revisit that and talk about, like, appropriate language. And then page 39, we had some stuff in there about meals, and it referenced the 25-26 school year right up there. So we need to update that date, and I think that should do it.
All right, is there any,
I don't see anything here significant that we would need to strike it.
Yeah.
I think we could probably approve it as it is and then do the edits after the fact.
yeah,
And then resend it out
that's
and
kind
share
of
it.
that's my thought as well. All right, is there a motion to approve the elementary handbook?
Motion to approve the elementary student handbook.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, further discussion on this? Yeah, I don't see anything substantial here. I think we can approve it. But I would like to see it again after the edits are made. So if we could review it again in September, that would be great.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, Mrs. Weech?
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech? Yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
All right, motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next, school improvement plans. This is not the first year we've looked at these plans. This is the year 2 update. So we do not need to vote on them, just to be clear.
So, yeah, it's the end of year 1.
Yep.
Going into year 2. So I asked them to give an update. Some of the information is going to be part of goals they have for this year, so it kind of works out pretty well.
All right, so I'm going to start with the Spring Street School. So goal 1, all 3 schools, goal 1 had to be, was tied to data and assessment information. So our goal had said beginning of year to end of year 2027, assessment data will show no less than 10% growth in all assessments. Looking quickly at kindergarten data, they surpassed that. I think part of that is sometimes we get kiddos that come in that are, barely recognizing some letters, and the growth they make is so substantial, it's amazing. But to track that data, and with this new data platform that we have, I think this is going to help feed us and making sure that we're doing adequate interventions for our students. We're already have in place data meetings 3 times a year, and those are the formal meetings. Teachers are progress monitoring those students in need bi-weekly. And then we are constantly moving around our intervention groups to see if we're making sure we're meeting our students' needs. And I think this data in the MTSS risk assessment will help us start this even earlier. So we're not waiting for all that data in the beginning of the year to and be in front of us and get started. So that's really exciting that we're going to have that. Goal 2 is about the preschool and kindergarten teacher working more collaboratively. So there's more a seamless transition from preschool to kindergarten. So some of the things we already started doing was collaborating between the team leaders of preschool and kindergarten, a lot more conversations about shared units, shared language. Some of the curriculums that we implemented in kindergarten we were able to trickle down to preschool, so that language and even some of like letter formations, the way they're doing it in preschool, will only help the kindergarten students when they get there. And then goal 3 was about creating a safe learning environment. It was really based on the building program, a building project. We know where that is right now. However, you know, we maybe cried over it for a day and then we moved forward. One of the big issues, or one of the big things we did at Spring Street this year was we reorganized some of the classrooms. We moved the preschool, so for anyone who had kiddos that go through the preschool was down in the central office wing. We moved 3 of those classrooms into what was considered the kindergarten wing. A couple of different reasons. One, easily transition kiddos between preschool and kindergarten. Even for a specific lesson, we can combine classrooms. We can take some kiddos from preschool and invite them in. You know, if they're loving the science lesson, they can go in and do the science lesson with the kindergarten class. Another reason is the bathroom situation. There's easier access to the bathrooms in the kindergarten wing than there was in the preschool. So that was a huge move that we did over the summer to hopefully, you know, strengthen this goal. We're doing the feasibility study for the safety vestibule. Mr. Bodwich talked about that already. And Mr. Collins says the intercom system at Spring Street will be up and running this week. First one ever. At Spring Street, we didn't have an intercom system. Everything went through the phones. Anyone's been in a kindergarten classroom, no one's hearing that message, not hearing Mrs. Ellis through the phone. So we were using police radio. So it's just a big relief for everyone to know that there's that shared intercom system going through.
Great. That's fantastic. Glad to hear that. Any questions or discussion on the Spring Street school improvement? Thank you.
Okay, it's me again. Roselle goal was the same, because again, the 3 principals worked together on this. Our data collection might look a little different in all the schools, but again, saw some great growth in first grade, significant growth, well beyond over the 10%. Second and third grade wasn't there yet, so that will be my focus, again, using this new data collection system to see what else we can be doing for our students to get them to move faster. We have the data meetings, they run the same way at Spring Street as they do Roselle 3 times a year. We're doing the progress monitoring there either bi-weekly or monthly, depending on where that student falls. And again, the intervention groups, all classroom teachers are running small groups in their classrooms as well. Intervention doesn't always mean it's a person coming in and grabbing a child. It can be everyone that works in the classroom. Goal 2 was, you know, targeting SEL and thinking about how we're incorporating that into our daily routines and instruction, and hopefully increasing positive senses of belonging and emotional regulation. This past year, our school psych and school counselors did a great job of pushing into classrooms. You know, if there happened to be a pattern of a behavior, the outgoing 3rd grade, current 4th grade, very competitive. So we had to do some lessons on what it means to be a good team player. This isn't real baseball and football, this is recess. And even some, you know, girl conflict in 3rd grade. So they ran some groups, whole lessons, which were great. Our school counselor came, and we talked a little bit about the curriculum. She came from a district that used Kelso's Choice, which is, it's an anti-bullying, it's an SEL curriculum. We didn't have the whole set. She kind of used what she learned and some of the resources she created, and she kind of went into classrooms and taught those. Every single classroom saw her at least once. Her goal, that was year 1 for her too, so she took that on as well as being a new counselor, or a new school psych. So we're hoping to increase that. They also would go out at recess, because that's where most conflicts happen, and support some of the kiddos that they knew were struggling. And instead of lunch bunches that have been in place for so many years, they did some more recess support groups. And we talked about the health curriculum teacher, or a health teacher has pushed some of the SEL competencies and doing some more of that work in that health and wellness class. It's not just about wellness in terms of eating and food choices, but your social emotional wellness as well. And the school psychs between the Howard and Roselle have met and started to collaborate and make sure some of their practices align. So when they leave Roselle, it's not a completely different world at the Howard. Goal 3 was, again, the building project, basically. We're reorganizing some of the learning spaces at Roselle as well. The related services, so speech, OT, APE, were in this, lack of a closet for a while because there was no other space. We were able to shift some people around, so they have a much bigger, nicer space to work in. The safety vestibule is ongoing, and intercom system, which is unique to the building, so it was at 1958 or what. If anyone's ever been in the
68, sorry,
building and heard
68.
morning announcements, it's terrifying. But it's supposed to be up and
We're
running by
seeing the
tomorrow.
system.
What's that?
We're seeing the actual system. in
Right,
the
it's supposed to
office.
be out of the office tomorrow. Melissa might miss it. but-
Wow. She will.
So that should be up and running by tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Okay, any questions?
No, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's getting past my bedtime here, so I'm gonna move this pretty quick. Mrs. Goulet said that we all had the same, similar goal about student achievement. I think as building administrators, that should always be a goal every year, because we can always do better. We were rated as making progress, which was awesome. Similar, we have departments, and we do data meetings through common planning time. We specifically meet with our math and ELA and science with the MCAS to review data, to see where we may be missing the gap in the instruction, on areas that we need to make growth. We have instituted a after-school tutoring program for some of our students who are just kind of missing the boat a little bit and need some help and guidance, because a lot of these kids, they don't go home and have parents or guardians who are home helping them with homework. And we thank the Howard Board of Trustees. They funded that program for us this year. We have quite a few peer mentors, to work with our kids during Power Block. And a lot of times just, Robin, I think you spoke to it, about just feeling accepted and part of, being a belonging, I think 100% helps with student achievement. So I think that we're making great strides and moving in the right direction, which is awesome. Our goal 2 was SEL. We always say every year, and it's so cliche, but students aren't going to learn unless they know you care, and it's so true. And I think our counseling department, I would put them up against anybody. They are amazing, and Harry. I hope you got the T-shirt email today. So I think it's really huge that they have formed groups. They do Mindfulness Wednesdays with the middle school students. They push into classrooms during Power Block, and it makes a difference. I'll tell you, watching the students come in the morning, our absenteeism is down, and I think a lot of it is they are liking coming to school, and I think Harry is a big part for some of these kids. He's there every morning in the cafeteria. We are going with the Kyles. We made the collaboration with Kyles Care and the Jed High School, which I think is going to be a great tool for us because they are going to bring in resources for us free of cost. The program cost, but again, thank you so much to the Howard Board who funded that for us. But I think that's going to bring us a lot of resources for these students, which is amazing. And our third is about equity and high quality instruction for all. And we're working with our teachers about being mindful of supplementary material so that everyone feels like they belong in the material. And it's more diverse. And, I think that helps improve achievement when these students feel like they are part of what's being taught, and they see a piece of themselves in the material. We're really trying through our SST, which are student success team, to identify at-risk students so we can get them early on. The department and administration have really tried to make getting the parent into the building a priority early and not waiting till after, the time's gone. We're trying to be preemptive, proactive before that. Even just for fall sports, we really have a less number of students who are ineligible for drama, for sports, so that's showing that we're going in the right direction. kids are making the mark. So, questions? Thank you.
All right, so at the Howard School, Goal 1, one of the things that we've been doing at the Howard since I arrived is we have Dibbles monitoring used to end in 3rd grade. We've been rolling that up. So our current 6th grade has been Dibbles monitored their entire Howard experience. This will be the first year that we're monitoring students in 6th grade. We did 5th grade last year, 4th grade the year before. So that's adding a layer of data for us to use. We've also hired I'm going to pause there and say that I am not seeing the growth that I want to see in our assessment data. So some things that we're doing to address that, and this is partially, I would say, very much driven by data, the hiring of the 0.6 reading specialist. So we have that position that we've added. In 6th grade this year, we're going up to a 5-class model. And those of you who were around 2 years ago, we did a class called PAC, Projects Across the Curriculum, where we just sort of added bits and pieces from all of the 4 core content areas. This year, we're going with literacy. And we named it literacy because it gives us some room to do some math, but it will be primarily reading. Because that's where we need the most growth. And then we are implementing 8-week data cycles. I'm so psyched to work with Deb, and I appreciate the dashboards that you've put together so much. So our students we're looking at a variety of data, and we are not doing the intervention lessons within the classroom. Students are going to be put into groups based on whatever goal they need to work on, and then the teachers will say, I'm going to work with that group. So our 4th and 5th graders are going to get an opportunity to work with some different staff. We're pouring during the block for 4th grade, all of the staff who can work with the group are going to 4th grade so that we can make, more groups, smaller numbers. When it's 5th grade's turn, all of our staff will go to 5th grade, more groups, smaller numbers. 6th grade is more challenging because they have separate science and social studies classes. So they don't have as much time to work with. Their time in the day for that intervention is less. However, we did add the literacy class. So it'll be interesting to see how those changes impact the student achievement, the data meetings. We're having data meetings every 8 weeks. And so we will regroup every 8 weeks. I know that doesn't quite line up with when we're testing, but we're going to make it work. We have enough other data even if we don't have a STAR test. Goal 2 was around SEL, and I can report that last year, 4th grade implemented the Let Grow curriculum, which was, it really required a leap of faith for our families. They were invited to work with our children to identify something that the kids wanted to experience that was maybe outside of their comfort zone. Looking forward to continuing that. Our SEL staff has been collaborating with the RLM school to make sure that the language that we're using from one school to another doesn't change. It's just a continuum. We have our health teacher realigning her curriculum to SEL standards. She's already been in this summer thinking about ways that she can take what she started and refine it. When our students take MCAS, I can't remember which grades take it, but there's a survey about climate and culture. It's the vocal survey. And that data is currently embargoed, so I can't really talk too much about it except to say that there's some really promising information there, and there's also some information in there that can guide the work that we're going to be doing this coming year. And the last thing I'll say that in terms of this coming year, I'm excited about the SEL committee last year came up with the idea of putting together a repository of lessons that classroom teachers can use. And we've identified, I've set aside time in the schedule, so right Our kids will go to recess and then lunch, and then they'll take 5 to 10 minutes every day to practice a particular self-regulation skill. It's the perfect time because they're coming in all wild, and then the idea is there's a link to a video. The kids are watching this video on bubble breathing, or they're doing a guided meditation, or they're, doing a reflection on gratitude or something. We'll have a repository of lessons that will change with those 8-week data cycles. So every time they change a different group in their intervention block, we're restarting. They're getting another opportunity to practice that self-regulation skill. So excited about that and seeing where that takes us. In terms of goal 3, to create safe, modern, and effective learning environments that support the educational and social emotional needs of all students and staff. We replaced our outdated firebox. We put some, like the reflective film on the windows so that our secretary is no longer sitting in a fishbowl. And midway through last year, we had a fob system installed, so it wasn't just, opening doors for people. Like, staff have a fob to get in and the doors are locked all the time. I cannot be in front of a microphone and not use the opportunity to bring to the attention to the public of these significant challenges that we face. We are completely out of space, completely. Obviously my specialists are on carts. Band is conducted in the narrowest little corner in the library you can imagine. It's the world's worst place to hold band. I don't have anywhere else for them to go. The fact that the specialists on carts has a significantly negative impact on learning opportunities for our kids. You can't do a cool STEM experiment when you have nowhere to put the project. Every classroom is filled. Our 4th grade special education teacher is holding small groups in an area that is separated from a 6th grade classroom with cubicle walls. Our reading specialist and Title I are working out of old locker rooms that have no windows or phones. Our RBT is working out of an old closet that currently has no phone, and we're working on getting them installed, but I am out of space. If I have to do anything else, they're gonna be in a hallway. So this goal is testing. I'm a creative person. I feel pretty psyched about how I've managed to jigsaw everybody in, and I will continue to rise to the occasion, but I just need to make sure that everybody knows it's real, it's serious.
Thank you.
Questions?
Questions for Ms. Giuffre?
Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
want to thank the principals. I appreciate your goals. I think they're very important. And in terms of space, I want the people watching to know that we are having discussions of what we can do. The MSBA, when we withdrew from the program, basically said, you need to come forward again when you know what you can spend. We're waiting. But we need to collaborate with the town on this. I think it's a partnership. So we need some input from them as well, but I think probably by the next meeting, or certainly the meeting after, I'm gonna come forward with some more information on thoughts that we have, that we'd like to present to the town in terms of progress for the future. And it's maybe not be next year or next couple of years, but it's future planning.
Thank you. All right, Mrs. Marble, homeschool request.
Hi.
Hi.
We did receive about, I believe, 9 families submitted for homeschooling. I believe you have them in your packet. I did review their applications, and they do align with the policy, the school committee policy, so I would recommend that we approve them.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the homeschool requests in our packet?
Motion to approve the homeschool requests.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? And I just want to remind the committee that there can be no discussion regarding any of the names or students in here, just in general homeschool requests and procedures and practices. Okay. Mrs. Weech, the vote?
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech? Yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Motion passed unanimously. All right, thank you. Restraint and seclusion procedures.
I think
Mrs.
Keith is
Marble.
going to join me, just in case we have questions. So last spring, we received updated regulations on timeout, seclusion. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was during the civil rights audit when we were trying to figure out how to approve that restraint and procedure policy. So I looked at it, I did share, which I believe is in your folder, some suggestions on updating them. And I know Robin has shared some with me as well. I did notice that it's on the agenda to open up that policy, so I don't know if we want to vote on that tonight or if we want to do it next time. But I do also want to share what the district has done to make sure that these regulations are being followed. As you know, we got the 213 grant, the timeout grant last year. We provided the district staff with training at the end of the school. Back it up. We provided the district staff with training on the regulations last year before school ended because it had to be in place by August 17th, and clearly they weren't going to look at it in July, so we did it before the end of the school year. Our BCBA will be visiting each school in September for their building-based meetings to revisit that training and to answer any questions and clarify any concerns they have. We used the 213 grant to train another district employee, so now we have 2 safety care trained instructors in our district, so we can train more staff and we can do it more efficiently. It won't take as long. We purchased updated sensory material for the calming spaces at each building. We purchased a new data system for our CLP classroom. We provided PD opportunities in the area of classroom management and de-escalation techniques through area collaboratives. We consulted with Brecklin, who we've consulted with before for our CLPs to help structure these classrooms. And we're going to continue to work with them this coming up school year, mainly in the fall through December.
And Brecklin is a consulting firm of BCBA's, so it's consulted directly with our current BCBA and also working with the classroom teachers in our CLP, which is our substantially separate classrooms that we now have in all 3 elementary buildings.
Yes. And then lastly, district leadership participated in a 2-day workshop with an educational consultant to learn and to review more special education law. We have that consulting coming back in the fall to do a whole school classroom management for our teachers.
Great, thank you.
Did I miss anything? I don't think so. Questions?
So I did have some questions. I already
Yes.
sent them to you, though. Actually, it was more just feedback.
Yep.
But just for the committee's benefit, we did approve the policy. The policy, if you recall, was very comprehensive. And so my general feedback was just to make sure that more of those elements from the policy are included in the procedure. So like, and I'm only gonna give one example, the whole seclusion section. So just including those specific prerequisites and safeguards in the procedure, so it's more readily accessible. So those would just be my suggestions.
So I guess I need clarification
Yeah.
too, Robin, because the procedures are now part of the policy. So I kind of was hesitant on
Yeah.
touching it because the policy is the school committee's policy. So I don't know how we want to handle that. That's something that you'll have to let me know how you want me to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that you're going to open it,
Yep.
so reach out to me and I'll afraid to touch it without that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Because we
has
did
a
attach it.
question.
Yeah.
Yes, all right, Lexi, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just had a question about one specific point. I know part of the policy has stated that, I think it was part of the seclusion procedure in particular, that, a teacher, that the first kind of line of defense after trying to regulate the students themselves is to call for help. How are we ensuring that teachers can always reach somebody that can't help? Because I remember being in a classroom, calling out and asking for help, and no one was on the other end, and I just didn't know what to do. So how are we making sure that our staff has immediate support? And if not immediate, yes, I'll be right up. Okay, I will be up in 5 minutes. In the meantime, do this. So how are we making sure that there's always someone on the other end, I guess?
That's a really good question. So, part of what, I can speak to 2 of the buildings at least right now. At Spring Street, every classroom had a radio. We called it the police radio, just because they are the same ones the police officers have. And that's also who our BCBA, who is always the lead in any kind of student dysregulation crisis. So they would say support to said classroom. And everyone would hear it. So people who are on our behavior intervention team, there's designated people in each school that are safety care trained, if they're available, because we also know a classroom teacher who's in there by herself can't leave 20 children to go support. And they would respond, you know, if they could respond or not. At the other school, at Roselle McDonald, we don't all have the police radios, but we have little smaller ones, walkie-talkies kind of mechanism that do travel within the building. You can hear it, so you would just call for that. If it's a classroom where we have a student that shows this need more often, we give them more ways to communicate. Hope that answered. I believe it's the
Yeah,
same at
that's the same
Howard.
That's the same at Howard, and our BCBA is working at creating and developing, I think she's already actually identified them, a response team.
Yes.
That they're all safety care trained. So when they hear that over the walkie-talkie, they know where to report to.
And I can speak from experience of seeing it in action, the response is immediate, and now that sometimes it's backing
many
off
people.
some response, so you don't have too many individuals there,
Correct.
but they're very willing and able to help right away.
Did that answer your question, Lexi?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. It seems like this was like very well thought out. Very gratifying to hear.
And the benefits of a smaller district.
Can I just ask one clarifying question? I know
Yep.
you said that training started last year, and so I assume you started training on the new policy.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So that makes me feel more comfortable suggesting that we hold this and that we vote on the procedures at the same time that we're really not gonna make any changes to JKAA, because I'm assuming Desi hasn't made any changes since they said August 16th we had to have this in place. But I'm suggesting that we hold it and look at it all together next month.
I would agree.
All right.
I just wanted a small comment. Can we add dates to the document? There's no dates at the top or like even at the bottom of each page to say updated da-da-da-da date or approved da-da-da-da date.
Absolutely.
Great, all right, so I'm gonna move to hold the restraint and seclusion procedures to the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call, Mrs. Weech?
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Luzardi?
Yes.
Weech, yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Luzardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
All right, motion passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the quarterly year-end update. Mrs. Grant.
Hi. So our school department's fiscal year '26 budget, the books are closed, and we ended the year with about $19,022 surplus, and that's been returned to the town as free cash. Just in a quick summary, the town approved a general fund budget of $18.6 million, and this is a bottom line budget, which means that we just have to come in meeting that budget amount or not going over. It's a bonus when you go over. This is how under, like we did, how free cash is created. And then we have meetings in March with other town departments to decide how the free cash is to be spent. During this year, at our capital budget committee meeting, we had some additional capital requests that we felt we could take into our own general fund budget versus using free cash for. And this came about because we had fewer Norfolk Aggie students attend than had been budgeted during 2026. So with taking these projects on, we were able to fix the clear story in the entire middle senior high school. It had been leaking and also causing damage to the gymnasium floor. Those have been sealed and the floor has been fixed. In addition, when the company was fixing the leaks in the clear story windows, they came upon issues with the mortar at the precast joints, so that cost an additional significant amount of money to fix. It was more cost-effective to fix them at this time versus trying to get the lifts back and have them do it later on. And we were also able to update and add the new middle senior high school computer lab, which is all installed and ready to go for this year. So additionally, we had some other unbudgeted repair items that were significant this year, but we were able again to absorb them in our general fund budget. We added the door security at the Howard School, as Mrs. Jufrey mentioned, having key fobs available to everyone. And we also had significant middle senior high school HVAC issues that we were able to address within our budget. So, any questions?
Any questions for Mrs. Grant? I'm going to pass it over to the Budget Subcommittee. So
Yes.
Carrie, you're the chair of that. If you want to kind of give a summary of the work the Budget Subcommittee has done and what we're going to do next.
So at our most recent budget subcommittee meeting, we went over the various cost centers to see where things had shifted from the expectations at the time when the budget was approved over a year ago.
Over 18
Yeah,
months
18
ago.
months ago.
18 months.
Yeah, just about. And so, as Mrs. Grant pointed out, we came in under budget even after absorbing the costs that would have originally been capital budget items. We went over in detail kind of what caused in certain cost centers us to be over or under. And I feel very comfortable with how it was managed and the reasons for the moves. You know, we've been working to improve our budget procedures and still getting there, but I think we've made great progress in the strides that we've made, especially over the last year. I do think that we just need to vote to kind of accept where we've landed with the movement on this budget.
Okay.
I don't really know exactly what motion to make, but
Can I just, real quick,
Mr. Mueller?
remind me again, how much did we move to do the capital budget things? Was like 150 grand or something like that?
I think it was closer to 180.
Okay. So all in all, it
But
would've
we
been-
didn't move it anywhere, so.
Yeah, just
You
used
know.
it, yeah.
We used
Yeah.
that we expended it out of the expense accounts that it belonged in. Like a majority was middle senior high school repairs, and then obviously technology for the computer lab equipment.
So it would have been close to 200 grand with that in there, if we kept them as capital budget items, okay. Just curious.
Well, we're closer to about 180, yeah.
Oh, no, I meant 200 total, because you have 19.
Right.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I'm just gonna add to that. Yeah, theoretically, we would, and what would have happened with those funds is they would have gone back into free cash. And because at the time, there wasn't enough free cash last March to fund these needs, it would have gone back into free cash, and March of '27, we would have re-requested this money.
So I think it makes sense. Legally, we're supposed to, yes, it's bottom line budget for the town. As a school committee, we're supposed to be voting at the cost center level. When we voted on the budget, we did the cost center level. I don't know that that's necessary here. I think that it makes sense to just kind of vote on the new numbers. And overall, we have the report in front of us to compare what we budgeted versus what was actually expended. Does that make sense?
I guess the one thing that we didn't go over, do we have the actual dollar figure minus this southeastern line?
Yeah, it's encumbrances and Southeastern are out, so the budget that was approved was 18 million, where did I write it? I have it on a different sheet. The reports don't just give us our expenses.
Right, that's.
The-
That makes it
that's
complicated.
Exactly, that's
Okay,
why
the,
it's
the
apples to
general
oranges.
fund budget was 18,609,917 dollars.
That was the town approved.
That is a general fund town-approved
Yeah.
budget.
And what was the actual after the, minus the 192260?
I didn't do that. Yeah,
I know.
Children pull up with that.
That was the one thing that we didn't do.
Calculator, so
So you said 18,
it's
609.
18,600,
7,
here we go.
minus the 19.
$18,609,917, and we came in under budget by $19,022.
And 60
And
cents.
60 cents?
60 cents, but I dropped the cents on the other one, so.
Okay.
So that would be $18,590,894.40.
So, motion to accept the budget as spent at $18,590,895.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Okay, roll call vote?
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech? Yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Motion approved unanimously. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Grant. Okay, so we are moving on to report of the subcommittees. Ms. Lizardi, do you want to just, the Student Outreach Subcommittee, did you want to just kind of let the committee know about kind of the plan
Yep.
for student, all right, go for it.
And also Mrs. Page, because I'm going to be reaching out via email shortly. So we have a new group of kids. Some of them are returning, and I think, was it 3 new students, was it? Sorry, I don't know if I can address you. Can I address Mrs. Page directly?
I'm not going to repeat it.
Do we know, have they appointed the representative yet? Yes. Okay. Okay, all right. Well, either way, I'll be reaching out to you and the students. It's not George, okay. To hopefully meet maybe the second week of school. And then we've designated, just to make sure that we stay in line with the requirement to meet with the students, our full committee with their full committee, at least a quorum of each, at a minimum of once every other month while school is in session. We're planning to meet with the students prior to our meetings on each of the dates: September 14th, November 2nd, January 11th, March 1st, and May 3rd. And then I will continue my monthly meetings with the students during school hours.
Great, I think it's important, I think it's good. I know you were
I'll
scrambling
email out
last
those
year.
dates too.
You were scrambling last year, we need to meet, we need to be in compliance, so set them at the beginning of the year. Hopefully that will be helpful with athletics, activities, and making sure that the representative can get here on time.
Yeah.
Any questions regarding the Student Outreach Subcommittee? Nope. Okay, moving on, policies to approve. I'm going to make a motion to approve the following policies which were reviewed by the Policy Subcommittee. AC, non-discrimination policy, including harassment and retaliation. AC-R, non-discrimination policy, including harassment, retaliation. ACA, non-discrimination on the basis of sex. ACAB, sexual harassment. ACE, non-discrimination on the basis of disability. ACGA, civil rights grievance procedure. ACGB, Title IX, sexual discrimination grievance procedure. JICFB, bullying prevention. JICFC, teen dating violence policy. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion on these items. There weren't any changes, really. The big ticket item here is the teen dating violence policy, which came out of a recommendation from the attorney's office. Regulations state that we need to address it somewhere. It is kind of briefly addressed in our other non-discrimination policies, but they did give us a draft policy, which the committee reviewed. We did take out a section regarding a task force, but and that was optional per the attorney. But aside from that, we felt that it was in line with all of our other policies, and it just became a little more comprehensive. Any other questions on the policies? Okay,
Ready?
go ahead.
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech? Yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Okay, and I'm going to move to open the following policies for review by the Policy Subcommittee. JKAA, timeout, seclusion, and physical restraint of students. JFBB, school choice. JLCD, administration of medication to students. And JLCDC, self-administration and self-carry of medications, which would be a new policy to our index. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on these. I think we kind of already covered JKAA and why that's being reviewed. It is an annual review policy. JFBB, JLCD, and JLCDC were all revised by MASC earlier this year, so they do need to be reviewed. There will be changes to those three. Any other questions or discussion on these policies? Okay.
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech, yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. I'm not aware of any other reports from the other subcommittees. So moving on to questions and recommendations by the committee. Is there anything that anyone would like to bring up at this time for the next agenda or for consideration? No? Okay, our next regular school committee meeting is September 14th, 2026 at 6:00 PM here at the Middle Senior High School Learning Commons. I'm going to move to adjourn into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and to discuss strategy regarding collective bargaining with the WBEA pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2 and Section 21A3, and not to reconvene in open session. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call.
Dragonetti?
Yes.
Lizardi?
Yes.
Weech, yes. Waller?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Dragonetti, yes. Lizardi, yes. Weech, yes. Waller, yes. Palmieri, yes.
Motion passed. Have a good night, everyone.